Hey, excuse the appearance. I just got back from class, jujitsu class on the mat. There you go. But I wanted to talk about something that an experience that I had with a client. It was super cool. This guy, he was visiting Austin. He lives very, very far away. And it's just so cool to meet a guy that's been a part of, our groups for 2 years, pretty much. And I've actually known him longer than that. I've known him for 5 years. And, he was talking about something which was very, very important for guys who are on this road to learning how to communicate, which can be so, so hard. And I forget it at times. I've been there and all that sort of stuff. But when you talk to people and you hear their stories and you really get to know them, you're like, man, holy shit, that's so fucking cool. I've known this guy in an online capacity. I met him at the 21 convention in 2011, but I've known him really gotten to know him in an online capacity the last 2 years. And it's kind of like, I don't like this. And it's actually great feedback from myself and the group, but I don't like it when people are strangers. It's like, man, and it's easy to get there with it. And he was talking to me about his journey in social dynamics. Okay, so he started out as a guy, he dedicated his life to school, to studying at a very high level, studying psychology, working, getting his multiple degrees in it. And then he got to a point where he was like, you know what, man, I'm not happy with this. I want to learn how to socialize and I want to learn how to connect with people. And I can't. I'm so stuck in a room in my house. And this is just my way. It was kind of my natural thing that I wanted to do as a child, which was to, be reclusive and not as extroverted. And it's crazy because you meet this guy and he's a social dude. Social dude is awesome, man. So basically he, hired some guys in the pickup industry, helped him out with the basics. They got him started in meeting people. And just like everybody else, and this is something that everybody should relate with, it's a lot. I want to talk about this tonight even, is that you're going to hire some duds, especially in an industry of self-development, anything where there's desperation. I need to change. I need to get happy. I need to get better because I suck. I need to get good with women because I'm alone. Man, that's a lot of pain points that, a lot of dickheads are selling you stuff at. And he was talking about, he's like, oh no, I hired this guy. And he did hire some good people too, but he's like, man, I gave it to my all and I accepted responsibility for it. And I get how frustrating it could be. Because that thing is where you don't accept responsibility for it. And you blame, you say the instructor sucked. Oh, I can't do this. That's where you trap yourself, man. Talk all the shit you want, but own it at the end of the day. And that's how you grow. So, man, he got to this point. He started working with TSL, building up conversation. And he said, man, there's some things that I don't like about myself. I do like about myself, or they're hard to talk to, or I don't even want to talk about it. And this one thing kept coming up and I just picked at it. I'm not necessarily saying this is the main thing he needs to talk about, but I kept hearing it. I'm very educated, but I don't give a shit. And in a way, I'm kind of taking words out of his mouth here, but this is how I interpreted it, was like, in a way, that took away from my social life. That actually kept me closeted. And so I don't even like bringing it up. I like doing my art, and that's the coolest thing. The guy makes a living doing what he loves now. That's pretty fucking cool, right? So he's like, I like my art. I want to do that, and I don't even want to mention that. And I was like, man, you know what, dude? That's the perfect thing to talk about. And it's not to talk about it because it's pushing your comfort zone or you got to be whatever. It's only because you have to be proud of yourself. And when you put things inside of yourself, outside of yourself, so that people can interact with, and people connect with it, that feels good. When people judge it, that feels bad, but when you can put it out there and people can interact with it, fuck, that's the fucking coolest thing. And if you knew how to do that, or you worked with people to help yourself do that, man, you would love it. And you would love being you, and you would love every opportunity. Well, maybe not every, because I tone it down quite a bit, I'm like, I don't want to be conversational today. But you would be like, man, I want to see how putting myself in front of this girl, that guy, this person that I wouldn't expect to be close to, or don't think has any value for me to work with, I'm going to put that in front of them and see what happens. And, you're going to get some bad apples. Actually, I was with him And this homeless lady asked us for change. I said, sure, let me dig through my car and see what change I have. And I actually didn't have much. I gave her some change. She just kept talking. And it was like going nowhere. And you could tell there was like a lot of weirdness to it. And it was like, okay, yeah, cool. Hey, have a nice day. You know, we're out of here. So I was like, how could you say this, man? How could you say this, right? How could you talk about this thing about being highly educated and getting somewhere, having somebody understand it? Because that's the key. One of the principles is if people can understand you, they can't judge you. They can make a choice about you, and that's great. You know, that's great. I actually have a situation like that. You know, I expressed myself to somebody, and I expect them to email me back pretty pissed off with a choice, but it's real, right? It's because I expressed I'm living in my own feedback loop. That's what I asked for. All right, so you want to put that out there. We can't fear rejection so much, you know, and judgment and all these different things. We got to be willing to put ourselves out there. That's the beauty of it. So I was like, well, how about, you know, you talk to somebody, you're already good at, you know, opening and starting conversations and doing the hellos and getting out of your skin. And how about because, you know, you go to some cafes, you talk to the barista at the cafe. Every day you say hello to her or him or, you know, whoever it is. You say, hey, how's it going today? They say hello back. Well, now your job is to start expressing yourself. And he's very capable of this. The guy can hold a conversation, but we're just starting at that step one. And you just say, hey, is there ever something that you really, really wanted to do? And then you realized like it was kind of a waste of time. Okay, that's a vague answer or a vague question. A lot of people aren't going to understand it. So let's get to this point in it where we can say yes, or they can say yes to it. And it's not like yes, literally. It's like, yeah, I want to answer that. So how can we get to that yes moment where they're like, hey, wait, yeah, I want to answer that. Super cool. Yeah, let me share part of myself. Okay, so all they need to do is understand what the fuck we're saying and have a great opportunity for them to express themselves. And everybody's going to say yes to that unless they're in a situation where they can't, or, you know, they're in a bad mood and there are those variables. But, you know, a barista, a hired gun, as they say, but somebody working, great opportunity to do it. So we could simply say something like, we can do the technique in rapport cycling of listing of threes. Okay. So basically what that is, I'm going to list 3 things that are easy to attach, you know, those memories towards, and have them be able to get a clear message in their mind. Okay. So if we ask that question, hey, is there something that you really did, you're really passionate about, you wanted to do it, but then you regretted it later in life? Yeah, they're confused. They don't know you. They're not going to answer that. And you say, well, look, it could be something like your dad or your mom really believed in you doing something. All right. Most people can think about that. Your dad and your mom wanted you to be a doctor, wanted you to be whatever, and you did it. You know, or maybe you're only close with your mom, or maybe only close with your dad, but people can access that memory instantly, right? Okay. So don't think of this as like an NLP thing, or, I mean, if you think in those realms, maybe you could, but I was never trained in that. And this works pretty well without all those funky definitions. So it's basically like, man, you know, like something your dad or your mom, you know, really wanted you to do. And then when you did it, it was like, ah, man, this isn't what I want in life. What I really value and I'm passionate is this. Probably half of the people that you ask that question will be able to think of it. Now, my mom and my dad wanted me to do all this stuff when I was younger. For me personally, I was like, no, I'm not doing any of it. I'm going to, you know, do whatever, and somehow end up being a dating coach and a life coach and all this stuff on this weird rocky road of that was paved by my own rebellion and all that sort of stuff. So if you asked me that question, I'd be in that 50% that would be like, yeah, I didn't do anything my mom and dad wanted me to do. Like I did the opposite. So you could then ask a second thing really quickly, right? This is very instant, right? And I'll go through the whole thing very fast so you get it. You could say something like, or like you had somebody you really looked up to. Like maybe in your early 20s. Oh man. You know, whether it's the right person or not, immediately I think of that. It's like, oh, Patrick, Joel, Dave, shit. And did you ever have somebody, and so just to clear this up, it's like, did you ever have somebody that you really looked up to, like perhaps in your early 20s? You know, you're just trying to figure out what to do and you did it. And then it was like, you know what? This isn't me. And it brought up all this crazy stuff. Okay. And so that's actually only listing 2 things. And I think that would be good enough, but you could come up with another one. It's like, man, did you get really, really passionate? Now let's be specific about a period of their life. Like that early 20s thing was good because people can get that, especially if they're in their mid 20s or if they're just past that early 20s or maybe in their 30s or 40s or whatever, they'll get that right away. Right. Or you could go back to like when you were a little kid, what do you want to do? But let's do one where it's like, no, man, the last great passion you had, like when you told all of your friends, I'm going to do this. This is going to be it. Maybe it's dating somebody and you go down that road, you walk down that road and you're like, mistake. So 3 things everybody can very, very easily relate with. And that will help you get into that conversation. Just super, super cool. All right. So if we back this up and remember, he's like, God, I got all this education and it pisses me off. Now, I'm not saying that because it's a high value thing. It's a great thing to talk about. I'm saying it because for a real, what's so beneficial about the social dynamics and what we teach is like you're connecting yourself to somebody else and they're going to share a part of themselves. That's the beautiful thing. It's not whether or not they like you. It's not whether or not you get a number. Those things will naturally happen, man. Men and women want to connect. These things, these results will naturally happen. But that benefit of being you and feeling good about it, it's going to change everything. It's going to be far better than any of this stuff. And so if we just rewound back and we just say, hey, how's it going? We're talking to easy conversation, super simple conversation with the barista. Hey, how you doing today? Man, I see you every day. And I want to ask this question. Have you ever like, done something that you really wanted in your life that you knew was important for you? And when you got to the end of it, it was just like, man, I don't like this. Like, I don't know. Why are you asking this question? No. It's easy. Like, your mom or your dad probably really wanted you to, do a career, or perhaps in like your early 20s, or how old are you right now? Like whoever you really looked up to and you're like, man, I want to do exactly this. Or I don't know, the last time you were like talking to your friends, like, oh my God, I'm going to be a photographer. I'm going to date this guy, or those things. And then when you got down that road and you just were there, it was just like, God, this isn't what I really value. I don't even like this. And all they need to do in order to get this value, the real value of it, this connection that happens, is all you have to do is have them process it in their minds. So even if they're thinking about it, that's an excellent first step. But of course, you're like, how do I know if they're thinking about it? As you get better, you'll be able to read people. And as you get more results of them answering, you'll be able to read people a lot better. But hopefully, then you can ask a tougher qualifier about it, which is just a question. And you just say, well, look, like, what was it? And how did that show you what you'd really love? Like, what was that? And hopefully they tell you. They might give you a low-level answer because a lot of times these are called rapport cycles, and it's a technique that we teach here, but your first cycle or 2, you're going to get kind of a surface-level answer. Like, oh yeah, I'm passionate. Well, I love art or whatever. And you won't get the real thing behind that passion or that art. You'll have to dig at it a little bit more, but cool, they answered, And now let's talk about what we do now and our process with some pride. Now in pickup, they always talk about a DHV and value, and then people are going to like you and you're like, yeah, but then it's not you and you're mimicking stuff. And then you build up all these unfulfilled relationships and you're dating somebody that's, has all the values you don't really care about, and your life sucks and you get pissed off, and that's what happens. So let's say they answer and they go, man, I really wanted to do gardening. And I was so passionate about it. And then it was like, you know what? I like going to nightclubs and dancing. And you're just like, cool. Maybe you can't relate with any of that. Okay. Those are all things that maybe you don't value. But the cool thing is that doesn't matter. They shared a part of themselves with you. All you have to then say, let's take his story and just go, you know what? See, it's weird because I spent my 20s into like right up to when I was 30 on education. I got this level of education in this category, subject, whatever they call it, right? And it was such an achievement that everybody around me could be proud of. But my real passion was to do something else. And in a way, I was always ashamed of looking at my education and not even wanting to talk about it. And, it made me feel bad, like I wasted time. But it made me feel that because I had wasted all that time, I couldn't really talk to people. But I just wanted to see if you could relate, Now there, of course, he could talk about the art that he does for a living and all those cool things. But I wanted to leave it there with the DLV, the demonstration of lower value. Like, I wasted time. I fucked up. I didn't do things right. I wanted to use that as an example because a lot of times we may not have the happy ending to the story. And you don't need the happy ending. You need to be able to show you to somebody else. And when they can understand it, it's great, man. And so all you guys are like, well, wait a minute. How do I get a chick to fuck me from that, right? How do I get that to happen? Look, it's super easy. Make that your foundation. It's super, super easy. You want the technical map? It's very easy. Elicit some more value, real value, what they like from them, about who they are. Show your intent towards that. Wow, that's really hot. Let's go on a date. Set up your dating structures from there. And it's super easy. But man, just think of this. Just think of this. And if your motive isn't sex, but all these guys will, dude, show me the good stuff, man. That's the good stuff. But if your motives aren't, to get laid or sexual, and even if they are, if you have this foundation of being able to share your story, the things that you think are bad with people, and as long as they connect and people understand them, or that people might actually make a choice about you, but you're very proud in showing that, you can go, man, I did give it my all and she snubbed me. Dude, that's such a great place to be as a human being. Just think about that. Just think if you didn't live by your fears of oh my God, I might get turned down. Oh my God, this is not going to work out. Of years and years of compounded rejection on top of me. And you could say, wait a minute, cool. I could stand in my shoes and I could accept myself and put it in front of somebody and see what comes back. Just think if you have that mentality and those choices, what kind of life you would cultivate around you and the people. That is beauty. Bet on that, cultivate that, work that, and I guarantee you, man, life is going to be fucking awesome.